worldwide, Mental Health Day is celebrated every year on 10th of October. So this year, as CCVS, we decided to bring the celebration to Kitgum for the first time. That is with the title, it's time to prioritize mental health at workplaces. So we thought of bringing up all the members of the community, because we know work has cuts across. Somebody at home is doing work, and that is sustaining them. A person in the market is doing work, somebody in the hospital, teachers. So there are quite a number of people are doing work that can help them to sustain their life. So we decided to bring this celebration to create awareness to the members of the community as well as the work fraternity, so that we are able to remind ourselves about the importance of taking care of our mental health as we provide services and also as we do work that can help us. Because when we talk about mental health is all about having a well-being, that somebody is able to appreciate life, somebody is able to function well, and somebody is able, is emotionally stable, somebody is cognitively upright. That is, they are able to think and reason in a right way, and they are able to make decisions that can help them and also the things around them.
I'm called Olumros Barbara. I'm a psychiatric nurse by profession. I've worked in Kitgum District Local Government for 24 years in service in the Department of Mental Health Department. Currently, you have asked me a question pertaining mental health. When they said mental health, it means the health pertaining your psychological aspects. And how will somebody know that this person is having mental health? You will only know somebody is having mental health by the behavior of that individual, how the person relates with one another, the environment, the family members, and to herself. She is able to adjust to situations that are abnormal in life. For example, if she has lost a dear one, she should be able to mourn the normal mourning. But if it goes beyond the normal period, that person goes, we diagnose that person to be having mental health problems. But a mental health person should be able to mourn and adjust to challenges in life. Those who are unable to adjust to challenges in life, they are having mental health problems. So for you to be mentally healthy, you should be able to sustain relationship. You should be able to relate with your family members, colleagues, at workplace, village members freely. And you should be able to participate in the communal activities. That is when we shall classify you to be having mental health. In Kitgum, generally mental health is not one condition. There are very many diseases or very many disorders that make somebody to be having, like you may be diagnosed with malaria, pneumonia. It is the same thing with mental health. When you want to diagnose somebody with mental health problem, you first look at the symptoms and signs. So the sign which indicates certain types of mental illness, that is when we shall diagnose you that specific type. In Kitgum generally, we are having almost all types of mental illnesses. The commonest one is post-traumatic stress disorders, which is as a result of what people went through during the war time. Those who experienced the war, those who witnessed the war, those who participated in the wars, and those who listened, who heard of the wars. they have now grown up and they have developed what we call post-traumatic stress disorders. Not only that, currently people are going through a lot of things that is affecting them financially, socially, economically. And currently what we get in the hospital, we get condition called depression. Depression comes as a result of a lot of issues surrounding one another. As I told you earlier, you should be able to adjust to challenges in life. But for you now who are unable to adjust to challenges, you end up either developing severe depression or you end up committing suicide because you find that the problem, the magnitude of the problem is too heavy for you to carry. And you cannot even assume there is somebody who can relieve you from that pain or from that problem. So you end up killing yourself. That is a depressive illness. We have other common types also in Kitgum like schizophrenia. Schizophrenia like those one you see moving in town, carrying, holding logs with them, luggages, and moving naked. Those people, we categorize them as having schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a very bad type of mental illness, of which it affects people of their prime age, especially when you reach like 20 years and above. That is when we always start seeing those people developing schizophrenia. And it is the worst type of mental illness. And you can also witness them in town. For you who live in Kitgum, you have seen people carrying some items with them, dirty things with them. Those are people suffering from schizophrenia. We have other types also called bipolar affective disorders. Bipolar affective disorders, it means the person is having that depression which I mentioned earlier. At the same time, at one moment in life, she will come with what we call manic episode or mania. She will be excited, spending a lot of money. She can sponsor the whole family of somebody to go and spend holidays in an hotel. Those are what we call them mania. We also have people who are having a disease called anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders is very common as a result of war also. But that one is very difficult also to diagnose unless you are a specialist like some of us. So it is very difficult to diagnose somebody with anxiety disorders. And usually when they talk about anxiety disorders, you may not know that this is really heading towards anxiety. We have the commonest one now, which is not supposed to be a mental health problem. It is epilepsy and nodding syndrome. All of us who live in this district, we have gone through these challenges. We have witnessed what took place, and we saw children suffering from nodding syndrome. And this nodding syndrome and epilepsy is now the commonest population in mental health department. Just because the disease is not supposed to be treated in this department, but because people assume it is affecting the head, that is why it's already being taken to be treated in mental health department. In ideal situation, nodding syndrome and epilepsy is not a mental health problem unless somebody is having psychotic symptoms. Psychotic symptoms, for example, the patient becomes very aggressive before getting the fits, start wandering away, and sometimes they also fight people. That is why they end up taking them to mental health department. In ideal situation is neurological disorders, which is supposed to be treated by a neurologist. So those are briefly some of the commonest types of mental illness we have in our district here. You know, government mental health is always the least on the list of Ministry of Health. Simply because somebody suffering from mental illness, you may not see that person dying like malaria would do. That is why it's always the least. So the priorities is always minimum. And when you look at, even currently, you look at the structure where mental health departments are operating, it's not supposed to be, in a normal situation, it's supposed to be a classic one like any other department. But just because they take it, first of all, they assume when they make a very good building, these people are destructive. They will destroy the structure. So they end up leaving them in a ramshackle department or ramshackle structure, so that when they even are destroyed, it will not affect the government. But the government also is trying their best to recruit personnel, and that is why some of us are here. We started working in this district when there was no department for mental health in Kitgum. We started by sensitization, and currently people are aware that mental health services are available, and the personnel are available, and government is doing its best to send for us some medicine to manage all these conditions that are available. And where we cannot manage, we take them to another level. When we talk about mental illness presenter, when we talk about mental problems, for us, we assume everybody in the population, everybody is having mental illness. The percentage of the degree of that mental illness varies. It means that at one moment, if certain events occurs in your life and you are unable to adjust or to cope up, you are likely to develop mental problems. Now, how would we wish to prevent the occurrence of mental illness? It is between you and me and everybody listening. Prevention is always better than cure. And one factor cannot cause mental illness. It means that the many factors surrounding us, environmental factors, socially, spiritually, economically, and biologically, we should have to look at these 5 factors, all of us. If we are unable to protect ourselves from mental illness when somebody is pregnant, we should be able to protect the person to prevent mental illness from occurrence after somebody is delivered or born. Because once I'm born, probably when I was in the womb, there were some unfavorable environment in the uterus. And by that time when I was born somewhere handicapped. That means you cannot do a lot in the prevention now. The possibility of this person who was born with handicapped, the probability of this one developing mental illness is very high. But now, in a situation where somebody was born normally, all the milestones, developmental milestones were all normal, she started meeting environmental factors. She's living in a violent home environment, brewing alcohol, the parents are alcoholic. There is this bunch which is currently everywhere. Children start now smoking, all these things. And now, if we cannot prevent the smoking, the domestic violence, the only way of preventing mental illness is, first of all, you look at the family level. The prevention is from family, community, and then maybe to another level. So first of all, at family level, you should make sure if you have a family, you should be exemplary. You should not drink alcohol. You should not show children domestic violence, because as soon as the children start experiencing this, their psychological development will be affected. And those who see parents drinking alcohol, smoking, probably they are also imitating. Learning is by seeing and touching and doing it. So we should avoid it at family level by being exemplary to the children. And when every families are having exemplary living, to their children. That means the 5 families will form a community. And if all these communities are having similar prevention, that means we shall have a community which is free from mental illness. No brewing, no cigarettes, no banji, no alcohol. We shall be free from mental illness. No wars. We have experienced war in this community, in this zone of ours. And that is why we are having a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. So, briefly, there are very many preventive measures, very many of them, which I may not mention them all now. My last word to the people listening to these interviews. We are now talking about mental illness and mental health. When you run from mental health to mental illness. Mental illness is already a disease, but mental health is when you are able to work like physical health. And therefore, I urge the community or the listeners that mental illness is for everybody. And those who are currently having mental or going through challenges, we are open from Monday to Friday. We have inpatient department where we admit people who are having severe mental problems. The personnel are available. We have drugs, we have everything. Come for assessment. And if you have any psychological problem is when you are unable, you talk to yourself and you cannot come to a solution. You come to the hospital so that we share. We give you what is called psychotherapy. Psychotherapy can be given to family members, can be given to individual, and can be given to community. So we are available professionally, we are available, and we have worked, we have experiences which we don't need to consult any book. So come and get services. If you see somebody talking to herself or undergoing serious traumatic problem, please refer that person to mental health department in Kitgum district. Thank you for listening to me.